Okay, so the top 4 most common mistakes when trying to build muscle, right? And this is gonna be, I'm just telling you now, it's gonna be a sick video. It's gonna be very, very informative, and it's gonna be based on research again, like always. So anyway, besides that, let's get into it. Okay, so mistake number 1 is, I was gonna say tip number 1. And mistake number 1 is not eating enough, right? So this happens all the time, and I guarantee you know that person that says, oh yeah, I'm eating loads, I'm eating loads, I'm eating loads. And then they only remember like the one big roast dinner they had, and then the next they didn't eat for like 8 hours or something. So not eating enough is a very, very common mistake when trying to build muscle, especially for those individuals that are really worried about gaining body fat, like extremely worried, right? They want to keep a 6-pack and pack on a ton of muscle. So anyway, not eating enough is it's a very common mistake. And research has shown, or both extremes, right? So people that don't eat enough underestimate what they eat. And the same goes for people that are overweight, underestimate how much they eat, right? So I think I said it right. I think you know what I'm trying to say anyway. It happens all the time, and research has shown that, like, if you're actually real worried on you're not eating enough, then just track a caloric intake. If you can't do it, like auto-regulation, yeah. So yeah, not eating enough is very important, and the reason being is you need to give your muscles like the building blocks to build muscle, right? If you don't know, and if you're a beginner, if you're new, if you don't have a lot of knowledge about this, you will not be gaining muscle if you don't eat a caloric surplus. It just won't happen unless you're a beginner or you return from training. Those are the only 2 exceptions. And besides that, let's get into mistake number 2. Okay, mistake number 2 is problems with protein intake, right? So I don't know, there's so much like protein in fitness industry, right? It's just protein. Whenever someone thinks of building muscle, it's protein, right? And I do understand that it's probably one of the most important nutrients to build muscle, but a very big mistake with protein intake, right? A lot of time people don't get enough. And this is not me saying, like, I believe there are 2 extremes, right? There's some people that get, like, they don't get enough, or they get hardly anything, and then there's some people that just get way too much and it just stores as fat. Like, it's those excess calories are just going to store as fat. You can't, like, just because you ingest, I don't know, 5 grams of protein per pound of body weight doesn't mean you're going to gain any more muscle than a person ingesting about 1.5 grams of protein, right, per pound of body weight. So yeah, problems with protein intake. Most of the time, I don't know, like I said, people aren't eating enough, or they're just eating too much. So just eat a good amount, maybe 1 gram to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Maybe you just want to go 1.3, like around the middle. So yeah, that's about it. There's not much to say on this. It's just a problem with the protein intake, right? You're eating hardly anything, or you're eating too much. And most of the time, like these supplement companies and most people, I think, that try to sell stuff are like, oh, eat loads of protein. It's because they want to sell protein powders, right? It's like they just want to market their shit. So I don't recommend having like 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. That's a bit too much. Maybe 1.5 is, or 1.3 or 1, you know, just it varies. All depends. If you're in a deficit, you probably want to consume more protein than when you're in a surplus, because when you're in a surplus, you have loads of other nutrients supporting muscle growth. So anyway, tip number 3 coming out right at you, and another mistake. Let's get it. Okay, this one is coming out the back door, right? This one, I don't know why I said out the back door. But this one, most people wouldn't really think about this, right? And it's cardio. Personally, I don't actually do cardio when I'm bulking. I do want to do more of it, but at the moment I've got a little injury. It's healing now, it's coming back, and then I'll be doing some cardio, right? I say that, but I don't know if I will. I'm honest with you. So the Training Institute of Cardio, right? It's like protein. You have one extreme at the lower end and another extreme. You have people that do way too much cardio, do like 4 times a week, interval training, high intensity, I don't know, for like 20 minutes or something, and then they're wondering why their legs aren't growing, because you're overtraining, man. You're doing Interval training is very, very taxing on the body. Like high intensity interval training, so taxing. So if you do that for 4 weeks, excuse me, and you're training like 6 weeks probably, like how are you expecting to grow, man? You're not gonna recover. So always measure up the cardio. It is I do recommend you do cardio though. Like I don't know, because maybe 2 to 3 times a week, maybe 3 to 4 times a week, right? But just, you know, the boring steady state cardio, about 20 to 30 minutes, nothing intense, and it's actually great for people that struggle to keep lean, because it'll just give them more room for calories, and yeah, so you don't get fat and chubby. Okay, that was a bit aggressive. And also why am I stuttering? Also doing cardio, it gives the impulses for fat metabolism. So when you come back to a deficit, you might lose weight a bit faster, right? So cardio is like, you can't go wrong with doing cardio, right? And how am I supposed to know? I don't really do it, but yeah, it's common sense. You can't really go wrong with it if you do that steady state cardio about 3 to 4 times a week, and you don't burn yourself up with 4 times a week high intensity interval training, intense shit, training 6 times a week, right? That's just, you're not going to recover in time. So anyway, let's jump into mistake number 4. I keep wanting to say tip number 4. Let's get it. Okay, so the last mistake, the 4th mistake, is the weight, and this is the one I bet you've all been waiting for, right? This is one. It's actually so simple. If you like I always say, progressive tension overload. If progressive tension overload is not applied, you won't be gaining muscle. It doesn't matter if you squeeze the muscle as hard as you can, if you have the best mind-muscle connection, if you have the best skin type. I don't even know. Like, none of this shit matters. It doesn't matter if you feel exhausted and tired and beat up after your 60 sets in the gym, a bro split. This shit doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. If you don't have progressive tension overload, you will not be gaining muscle. For naturals, you need to be getting stronger over time, and I say this in every video and I keep it real. For those of you who don't like it, you can dislike this video because you know it's true. All these all this information coming from like focus on the squeeze, the feel, the pump, hit each body part once a week. All these train 7 days a week, I think the bro split is. I don't even know about it. All this stuff comes from drugged up bodybuilders, right? And like I always say, I respect them, but I don't respect them when they try to train naturals and tell them this shit works, because it doesn't. Okay, like 10%, maybe 5%, basically the minority of the population will get some results with the bro split, but that's the minority, right? You don't want to ignore the majority. Like those people with good genetics and good hormones, they will get the good results on the bro split, but that's very, very few. So again, what I recommend is, you already know this, hit each muscle group at least twice a week. Training frequency of about minimum 3 times a week, minimum. Maximum times a week, I don't know what. Maximum times a week it can vary, because it depends how long you spend in the gym though, right? So maybe a good figure is 3 to 5 times a week and 60 to 90 minutes in the gym, right? I'm just throwing this out. And as you may know, I don't, like I said, I'm not a person to believe in the bro split. It's personally, for me, it might just work for minority, but we talk about a majority, right? And there's so many people, and I've just come to realize that I talk to that do the bro split. They ask me, are you hitting chest today, are you hitting shoulders? I'm like, I don't do that. And then they eat 6 meals a day. Like, I've got nothing against this as long as it's working for you, right? But if you think it's working for the majority, it's probably not. Despite eating 6 meals a day, that's a different story. But anyway, yeah, the weights is very, very a big mistake, and too many people also jump to very, very high amounts of volume, right? So sets, reps, and we can say workload, right? But we focus on sets of reps. People, especially beginners and intermediates, I'm actually probably beginner intermediate. I don't consider myself advanced at all. But the beginners always, like, you don't need to jump off of 4 sets per exercise, right? I'd say about I do about personally 3 sets per exercise. let me give you an example. For example, on pull day, actually no, because I do high volume on my back at the moment. But say push day, right? I do chest, shoulders, and triceps. So sometimes I start off with chest. I'll do bench press, and then I'll do shoulder press. The 2 compound movements, like I always do, and then I'll do another exercise for chest, like incline dumbbell. So those are 2 exercises, about 3 sets, right? So that's 6 sets for each muscle group per workout, around there. And then sometimes I'd throw an isolation for my chest because it's one of my lagging body parts. But exactly, that all depends. So about 6 sets per muscle group, but just throwing a rough estimate, 6 to 8 sets per muscle group. Each workout should be fine. So anyway, yeah, those were the big mistakes I made in the gym, the 4 probably most common ones. And I hope you found this video useful. I hope you enjoyed the little cut-in, so I'm making it more concise. I say I'm making it more concise, but I'll probably been speaking for like 10 minutes. But yeah, I hope you find it useful, informative, and yeah, if you actually think it will help a lot of people or your friends, just give them this information, share this video, hopefully maybe they will like me. So anyway, as always, subscribe if you found this useful and it's going to work for you. Like, comment, let me know what you think of these little cuts, scenes, I think I could call it. And yeah, as always, I've got to go work now, so actually I'm making the next video before I go to work. So anyway, stay positive, stay smiling, and I'll see you in the next one.